All right. Good morning, everyone. We are so excited to have Heidi and Mike here from Caliber Home Loans, and they have brought in Peter Lustig, who is a very, very friendly, nice gentleman that we've been chatting, and Peter is here to teach us all about expanding your inventory using renovation loans. So this is going to be a phenomenal class for you guys to sit in on. He's got a great variety of examples to show you guys. And of course, as you know, we have a great team that's going to be here to answer all of your questions. I will let you guys take it away. Just holler if you need me and I'll come running over.
Thank you, Amanda. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm glad you can all make it. You're going to learn a lot today. I know we all run into customers that, everybody wants new, right? But in New Jersey, there's barely any new. So Peter is going to teach you how we can get customers in houses they love. He's been doing this for, a very long time. So, listen to him and make sure you follow instructions. So he's very available for you guys. When you're ready to do this, you really don't have to worry about much because he can take care of the whole process for you guys. So I'm going to just let Peter do it. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. So nice to meet everyone. Hello to the online people. I believe you can hear me. Like Heidi said, today I'm going to show you how you can expand your inventory using renovation loans. And the real cool thing about this is buyers get the house that they want, and if they don't shop too much and stay out of PC Richards in the back, they get equity in the house, right? Just something before we start. I like these things to be interactive, right? So feel free to stop me and ask questions at any point, at any time. I don't like standing in front of a room like this, right? It's not what I want to do. So feel free, right, to ask me. So I'll jump right in, right? Renovation loans are buy and upgrade loans. There's conventional, which is Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, VA, USDA, and then FHA 203K. Most people in the industry have heard of 203K. They started in the 70s. The other agencies got involved and they duplicated it. In general, from a construction point of view, it's really, really similar. And also from a lender point of view, there's some differences in terms of income and credit scores and all that, right? But it's not vastly different. Same qualifying criteria, standard FHA and conventional loans. Appraisals are based upon future value. And this is a really important concept, right? So you're not basing the appraisal on a beat up little 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. If you're expanding it, you're basing the appraisal on a fixed up 4-bedroom, 2.5. So it's future value. And then the coolest part is 110% for 203K with, and I've heard no penalty in fees or interest or anything, just automatically allowed. So if you're looking for a 440 appraisal and the appraisal only comes in at 400, you can just without a problem go right up to 440 and you'll still get done. Over the last several years, we really haven't had too much in the way of appraisal issues because the market has gone up. But if you do have an appraisal issue under 203K, you can go up to 110. And we've started conventional loans where the appraisal came in low and it was switched over to a 203K, and to the borrower, it didn't make a huge difference. So at closing, repair monies are escrowed with Caliber, and then they're released by us as the inspectors as the work is complete. Consultants have two roles. Pre-closing, we work together with borrower and contractor to establish a construction budget. Post-closing, we become the inspector who release the money as the borrower and contractor complete the work. Someone have a question?
Step by step is construction.
I'm sorry.
The money will release it step by step.
Yeah, so the way releases work is percentage of completion, right? So let's say that there's $100,000 in escrow with Caliber for the work to be completed. When we step on site, everything that has been completed from 0 to 100%, we can release funds for. give you an example for a kitchen. Let's say we allocate $20,000 for a kitchen. We step on site, it's been roughed, we might release 35%. If, let's say it's been roughed and finished, but the counters aren't installed, out of the 20,000, we might hold back 3,500. Right, so we can, our goal is to release as much money as possible at any time during the construction period, while always making sure that Caliber retains enough money for the next contractor to step in and finish. Yeah, our goal is to make sure that that everyone gets, that the contractor gets paid fairly as quickly as possible, so that the borrower gets their house as quickly as possible, and so that there are no delays. But always making sure there's still enough money in the pot should that become necessary. Yes.
So how involved are you for the bidding system, right? So buyers who maybe didn't see this as an option, but now that they've seen that there's not much in their price point, there's a condition that they're looking for, like, would you actually go on showings and kind of get estimates or like?
I get into that in my appraisal. The answer, in my presentation, the answer is yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. Home and garden television draws people to our doorstep, right? So once they're at our doorstep, they tend to have not much idea of how much it will cost to fix up the house. So what we do is we hold their hand and do what's called free feasibilities, and I'll get into that in a second. Yeah, the answer is yes, right? That's an established thing that we do because we've run into that. Yeah, we want to do it, we're open to it, but we don't know how. So just a little bit about us, right? In 2022, 600 new projects, 1,400 grows. We have about 425 active sites up and down the East Coast. I've done 3,000 to date. Gray hairs on me prove that. We do national coverage for conventional. 15 states or 75% of the nation's market for 203K. We tend to cover for 203K up and down the East Coast, Chicagoland, as well as the I-4 corridor, and from Jacksonville to Tampa, and in Southeast Florida as well. The firm currently has 22 licensed consultants. We're all licensed home inspectors as well, because we have to have the licenses. And then backed by 6 full-time experienced administrative staff, and they do reno all day, every day. In fact, they are able to run my business while I'm up here presenting. So yeah, everything goes on while, all day, every day is pretty much how it goes. All right, so this is the heart of the presentation, right? I always say to people, if you take nothing else away from this, right, this is really the concept that you want to understand. Feel free to take photos. I believe, Heidi, you have my deck, right? Feel free to share it, right? If any of you need the deck to better understand this, right, it's available. Here's the example, right? So you have 2 listings for $550,000. They don't require upgrades. You buy them for $550,000, they appraise for $550,000. There's no equity in it, but your buyer doesn't like those 2 properties. Now what are you going to do? Well, if the buyer is open to a renovation, right, you can show them, let's say, a $455,000 house that requires $80,000 to upgrade. You bought it for $535,000. Appraiser says it's worth $580,000. Buyer has equity of $45,000 and gets the house that they want. Right, so that's example 1, and then there's up to 5 more examples there. There is inventory that is distressed, and I'll go through it for you in a minute to document active listings that work for this. But we find them on a regular basis. Right, the second one, buy it for $399, fix it for $100. It's worth, you get it for $499. It's worth $540, equity of $41,000. As we go through this, right, the formula for making this work is actually really simple. It's the buy, the fix, what it's worth. That's really all that we're trying to figure out. Let me digress a little bit, right? The appraised value. This is where you as realtors come in. If we take a town in which you do business actively, you better than anyone can tell me what that house is worth fixed up, right? I can do some research, we can figure it out as a company, but you know it from doing business all day, every day in the town, right? So the idea is that once if we have enough appraised value and we keep the upgrade costs under control, we have a viable transaction, right? Anyone have any questions on this, on what I've presented? Yeah, it's buy, fix, what it's worth, right? It's real simple, and I'll go through some examples with And this is actually one of my favorite ones that I do in North Jersey, and I'll tell you why in a second. Right, so they bought it for $350, they upgraded for $275, and it's worth $665. They have equity of $40,000. It is the same house. So a little window here, a little window there, air conditioner, right? And so, and someone else pointed this out, same tree. It's also the same bush, same tree, same basement windows, right? Yeah. So, but this is your standard 1940s Jersey tape, right? Kitchen, living room, kitchen, bedroom, bathroom behind the stairs, right? Stairs to the second floor, 2 awkward bedrooms that aren't really good bedrooms and no one's like. You pop the top, you put 2 real bedrooms and another bathroom. Now you have a 4-bed, 2-bath house, right? And this concept works for many, many people. We've done this one repeatedly. In fact, I think this one was in Ridgewood behind Paramus Catholic, right? And the funny thing was when we first did one there, it was a little bit hard to find appraisal because the neighborhood didn't have any fixed up houses. Now you can't find any more of these houses. They all look like that. So yeah, we've done a lot in that neighborhood. This one I like sharing with people because it's the question of how low can you go? So what these folks did was they bought a little small 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. They tore it down to the foundation. So you have to keep the existing foundation, but you can expand. You can expand the foundation. So what they did was they tore it down, expanded the foundation, and they built that. Right. So they bought it for $375. They built the house for $590. It's worth more than $1.05 million right now. It's in Mawa. I remember this one, and they had equity of $85,000. Right, so that's you can tear it down and go to the foundation. You don't have to, obviously, but if we see those in nicer neighborhoods where it makes sense to do that. This one is in Edison, right? And I'll prove to you it's the same house. See the planter, same planter. Right, they bought it for $340, upgraded for $340, appraised for $725, $45 in equity. They get themselves a big new house, right? They started out as a small little ranch. They added this whole second level to it. I'm sure that's a 5.3 at this point, right? So as long as the future appraised value is there, that's what we're all working. The Adams family house, right? And I was talking about this with someone the other day. They spent more than $325. They put some of their own money, right? Because it was in such poor shape, and there's all this intricate detail on that. That costs all the scalloping. That costs a lot of money, right? There's a lot of money that goes into that. So, but again, right? They bought it for $175, upgraded $325. It's worth $550. The reason I keep coming back to that, it's 5 plus fix is what it's worth. The formula is real simple. All right, so now we'll go on to sources for property. So this is a great idea. How do I find property, right? The first thing is listings we send you, and I'll show you examples of reactive listings in the area that we send you. By virtue of attending this meeting, you go on our list, and currently we're sending 1 to 2 properties in New Jersey on a daily basis, right? So you'll start receiving listings from us. Distressed properties in areas with strong ARV. So that's the one in behind Paramus Catholic that I just use as an example, right? That neighborhood is now almost untouchable. It's all upgraded houses. Smaller houses in desirable areas, that's the same concept as what we just talked about. This one I like, aged listings with dated finishes, right? We've all had, well, they don't stay anymore, but they used to have listings that would stay on the market because what happened was the person lived in it for a long time. They retired at the age of 65. They maintained it, but they never upgraded it. Here we are 20 years later, your client steps in and says, well, maybe no shag carpet or, or pink bathroom anymore. I might like something a little more current. Well, how are you going to get there? With a renovation loan, right? Multi-unit properties and investors, right? Well, Fannie Mae, and does Freddie allow investors? I honestly don't remember. I've never done a Freddie investor. I think they do, right? So with Fannie Mae, you can do investor and multis with an investor. I don't know. That might be a lender overlay. Yeah, I'd have to research that. In any case, you can do multi-unit properties if you want, right? So as long as the residential space exceeds the commercial space. And you can't do work in the commercial space that is considered finishes. You can do health and safety and utilities, that kind of stuff. So let's say you have a storefront and then 2 units above it, that would qualify as long as the footprint of each unit above it exceeds or is equal to the storefront, right? So you can do it. We don't do a lot of multis, and I think part of the reason is because there are a considerable amount of reserves. Like you have to come up with a decent amount of cash, but we've done them. All right, so, and then the main thing and why this is in larger font is current listings that can be upgraded with a renovation loan, right? And this is what you will start receiving, right? So 12 Loman and Dumas, you buy it for $299, upgraded for $92. It's worth $426. Buyers get equity of $35,000. Here are your comps, right? 29 Forest, $425, 426, 425, 7 Fleetwood, 425, 426. And 11 West Church, 428. So this is what you start getting, right? So if you have a client who is amenable to this, right? I'll show you how you can start talking to them in a second. 29 Highwood in Waldwick, right? Buy it for $375, upgraded for $125, worth $535. Worth $535. Buyer's equity is $35,000. Again, here's your comps, right? Worth $535, $535, $540, $539. I wouldn't buy that house for $540. Someone did. That's all that matters, actually, whether as long as you buy it. 110 Jefferson, Hasbrook Heights, 340, 140, 515, 510, 520, 515. Right, so you'll see that the concept is that it all works off of the value, and you as realtors know better than anyone how much the potential house is worth. If you call me and say, hey, Peter, I have one, and we'll talk about this in more detail, right? One of the first questions you're going to get back to me is, hey, okay, fixed up. What's the highest and best use of this house? Are we adding square footage or are we renovating the existing square footage? How much is it? Let's say we're keeping it as a 3-2. Fixed up, how much is it worth? As long as the formula works, that it's worth, adequate money. I'll tell you how much it would be. It would cost to upgrade it, and what we can buy it for. That the listing is, right? There's your formula: buy, upgrade, and what it's. Right? It's a 10-minute conversation, right? All right. So renovation loans are great for buyers familiar with home and garden television, right? Buyers who like the area but can't find an affordable house. First-time home buyers, right? These are all our clients who show up all day, every day. So in the next slide, I'll show you how we actually help them and hold their hand through the entire process. Buyers looking for strong rental income, that would be the multi, right? You run a business out of the store, live in a unit, rent 1 or 2 more units. We've seen folks do that. And this one is in larger font because I have been told to do it by a loan officer. A dedicated broker seeking a competitive advantage. So here's what I've been told, right? You have the barbecue, you have 2 families. One family is standing there in a nice new house. The other one still lives in a beat-up house that they bought at the same time. With the conversation, how'd you get that? I want that. Talk to them. That's what happens. You do a couple of these, you become an expert, right? It happens that we do this over and over and over again with same parties, not all the time, but we have a lot of people who show up on our doorstep repeatedly, because once you've done a couple, now you know how to do it. And probably the most important thing is you want to work with experts who know how to do these. Folks, free, right? Oh, sorry, free. Apologies. Yeah.
To piggyback on that idea, right? Obviously, there's a contrast of a house that's been renovated and not, and you're talking to different families. But imagine you're talking to someone about, well, are you considering listing your property? You guys do that all day long, right? Trying to find listings. And they say, what do they say? What's some things they say? Not ready. Okay, great. So what do you ask them when they say not ready? Okay, how long maybe? Yeah, what specifically needs to happen between now and when you will be ready? Let's target that and I'll follow up. But imagine if you could, while that was happening, offer them value and improve the quality of their life in the interim. So let's say they say 7 years from now, my daughter will be out of high school. I'm probably going to downsize or move away, move back to where I'm from, whatever. Well, okay, during those 7 years, you just described 2 homes. The one that hadn't been renovated They had a kitchen that was done in 1986, right? Which really seems old to some of you guys. For me, that's. I was
Yesterday.
I was out of high school. then.
That's yes.
But, you know, the kitchen's old and they're gonna decide to stay in that kitchen for 7 years and endure that standard of living. Instead of getting that dream house that they're hoping to get in 7 years now.
Yeah.
Right? You're not getting a sale yet, you're not getting a listing. What you're getting is someone who opened their eyes to improving their lives for 7 years. They're gonna talk to us, we're gonna refinance them with the renovation loan, improve their kitchen, improve their bathroom, put whatever improvement they want on their home, cosmetically or otherwise. And now they're happier about their situation for 7 years. In many cases, you know, let's say you got your house 25 years ago. Your house is now worth a lot more and your mortgage is now a lot smaller. So I can literally give them $150,000 cash out and they can still afford it. So what they're doing is they're sacrificing a little of their profit on they're not sacrificing their profit on sale. They're improving the value of their home at sale and getting that extra money that Peter was referring to. They're also improving their quality of their lives between now and then. And who do you think they're going to call when it does come time to list their house? They're going to call you because you open their eyes to this whole possibility. Anyway, I don't know. what
I
to
can
talk
add,
about.
no, I can add something to that, right? So, let's say that the house is stressed, the seller recognizes stressed, they're ready to sell. How about using a free marketing tool to help you sell the house, right? Let me jump to it and I'll show you this. This is what's called a free feasibility study, and I'm going to talk about this in a second,
I'm
right?
gonna get my magnifying glass.
Yeah, I know, it's a little hard to see. Yeah, I know.
Isn't
cost.
this it?
It is. When
You know
we
what,
had-
let me
yeah,
hand
I
this
know
over.
it's not quite. It's a different concept, but if you can
You
hand
need
it.
Probably, right?
Yeah, you can hand it. Yeah. So let's say that you have a distressed house, right? It needs work. No, everyone recognizes it. How about if we gave you a free feasibility study where we said these are the things based on a conversation with you about the listing. These are the things that need upgrading in the house. You could leave this document co-branded however you want on the kitchen table for prospective purchasers to pick up. What we would do is we would eliminate the actual detail on it. We would leave the total and the descriptions, and that forces people to call. They pick it up and they say, oh, it's been pre-approved for renovation financing. These are the things I can do with 87,000. I need further details. They will call either use the realtor, the lender, or us. Right, and it pushes transaction. We've done a bunch of these, Mike. They really work nicely.
Yeah, so you
On the
guys
list
have a
ones.
listing that is not in mint condition and you're willing to admit it needs some 10,
Yeah.
11 care. Well, what specifically can you do? Can you research it and put this out there in front of the buyers so they can have a vision? A lot of people they shy away from that type of property because they can't imagine, you know? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's, and I'm gonna talk more about free feasibilities, right? Let me get back to what it was.
Peter, before you move on, can I just add something?
Okay, yeah. So, this slide details with, some of the pain points, right? And, so how can we determine a budget before submitting an offer? You have someone who's open to the concept of taking a lower price house that needs renovation. They are standing in front of the house, they have no idea how much it's gonna cost to fix up. And this goes back to your question before. So we offer what are called pre-feasibility studies. The document that I just showed you, you give us a listing, an online listing, maybe a quick phone call because you as brokers never take pictures in the basement. So please start taking pictures in the basement because that's where a lot of the work comes, right? So what we'll do is we'll put within an accuracy of 10% a free feasibility study, letting your borrower make an informed offer, right? So just back to the top slide here, right? Right, this part, the upgrade cost, that's your free feasibility, right? You know, it's listed for 455. You know, fixed up, it's gonna be worth 580. How are we gonna figure out how much this work is gonna cost? You get a free feasibility from us. We'll turn it around in 24 hours. Right, or if it's a listing, you get a free feasibility, and you leave it in a piece of lucite on a kitchen. Right, these are hugely powerful in doing renovation, right? Because it's the missing piece. And our free feasibility is what has grown over time. Just we do it all the time, right? There's always at least 4 or 5 of them that cross my desk on a daily basis. I have a panel of 5 of my top consultants out of 22 licenses. If I can't do the feasibility myself, I just hand it off to them, you get it back in 24 hours. We take a look at the online listing. If we see enough in the online listing, we see it's a 3-bed, 1-bath. We know that it needs X, Y, and Z. Maybe we'll place a quick phone call to you because we don't know what the boiler looks like or what the roof really looks like, or if it needs windows, that kind of thing. So you get the pre-feasibility as a way to get the transaction completed. The other question, and by the way, anyone have questions on anything that I have said so far? Yes.
Does this same, system, does it work the same for like townhouses or condos?
Yeah, you can do townhouses, you can do condos, yep, absolutely, we do them, in fact, was it with you, Mike, that I did one so long ago? Did you do one together in Mahwah?
Yeah.
Yeah, and generally because only the buyer in a condo generally only takes ownership of the inside of the house, so we don't do all the health work because that's the condo association, but the kitchen, bath, flooring, walls, heating, electric, right, those are anything within the walls, that usually is what happens with condos.
You mentioned something about the multifamily home.
Yeah.
So in that case, you said something about putting more cash. right?
Yeah.
So how is that process? Just to have an fair idea.
So what I would suggest is that you talk with one of the caliber people and game it out, right?
I have two possible answers. So there's two kinds of renovation loans. There's the FHA renovation loan and there's the Fannie Mae renovation loan. The FHA renovation loan, you can get away with a lot less down payment than you can. But if you qualify for the Fannie Mae renovation loan, you're going to want to do that because it's going to get you better terms, better rate, and better lower PMI costs and just lower closing costs. So when you look at both, and of course the buyers always choose which one they prefer, but in my experience, when they can afford this transaction, you're not stretching something, they don't have bad credit, they're going to end up in the Fannie Mae home style renovation loan. Maximum LTV for a purchase of a single family is 97. So we look at the resulting value, and then we make 97% of that be the maximum loan amount. But there is a limiting factor. The maximum loan amount is really a little bit less than that. It's actually your acquisition cost, your contract price, plus your renovation budget. That's the number you go 97%. You have to bring 3%. You can't bring less than that. So imagine if it was the other way around, you'd bring nothing to closing, you'd be creating equity. So we don't let them do that. We make them have some skin in the game. 5%, if it's an ARM, 2 units, the max LTV is 85, 3 and 4 units, the max is 75. So if they don't have the 15 or the 25% down for those multi-units, then they're probably gonna end up in 2 or 3K. And it's gotta be a primary.
And what I
You can do this as an investment through Fannie Mae.
Mhm.
You just have to have a down payment.
What I always tell people is if you have a prospective transaction, right, speak to caliber as to how the loan structure would look, and then someone will come to me and say, how much to put this house back together, and I'll provide that. With that, you have your answer. You'll know exactly how much cash, what the monthly payment is, et cetera, et cetera. Make the construction. Right.
So Peter, we have a question from the online.
Oh, yeah, cool. I was
So,
wondering if we could get.
We got 9 people connected
Yep.
online. For the agents, the biggest concern during renovation, if disrupting quality of life. As a consultant, we can include rent while construction's ongoing.
Yes,
So
yes.
is that
So
correct?
this is definitely something, so you can include up to 6 months of pity, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Right? It will raise your payment slightly, but let's say that the house is substantially being renovated. And you don't want to live in a construction site, something that I recommend that you don't do. And you will need to rent an apartment for, let's say, the 4 months that you are expecting your house to be finished. You can include 4 months of payment on your residence that you're going to be occupying and use your regular monthly payment to pay rent in the apartment. So you can include up to 6 months. We are asked by the lender to determine how long it will take to finish the project. And that is what the lender uses to determine how many months of pity you can escrow into the loan. Generally, just to expand on that a little, all soft costs related to the construction of the loan in addition to pity. So architect's fees, engineer's fees, septic, any of these permits and fees are allowable to be funded into the loan. Right, so yeah, and the pity thing, that's a good point, that Yes, there's also what is called contingency on these loans, so between 10 and 15%, usually 15% if the properties are occupied or utilities are off, 10% if it's a large loan or if the work is understandable. Contingency can be used for anything that was unforeseen, right? So if we're in this room, I can't tell behind the walls what's up with the structure, the plumbing, or the electric. Once the demo gets done, now we have a clear understanding of what the condition of the property is really. So usually up until about 50% of the completion, you can use contingency money to address the stuff behind the wall. Once you get north of that 50% and we really understand the transaction, then you can use contingency for additional items, right? So you can use some of it, none of it, or all of it. Any contingency monies that is left at the end of the project goes to pay down your balance. Most people use their contingency because of shopping at PC Richards.
The last one I had of those, the guy actually, it's a big project, the guy actually added a second fireplace,
Yeah, okay.
because he had all this extra money.
As long as it adds value, right? You as the lender don't care, right? As long as it adds that, that's really a dollar for dollar value, right? And most things do add dollar value. Yes,
You also handle properties where the buyer is responsible for the CO, in terms of that.
so what's cool about this is the condition, the CO, the violation, nothing matters, right? You can, as long as you include correcting the violations, the CO or whatever is required to put it back on its feet in the loan, in the construction.
You know, all you need to have is a CFO at the end.
Yeah, that's right. Close out, you don't even close out your permits. It might not even be a total CFO. For some reason, typewriters don't work at the town, at the board, right? They can't pull out a typewriter, type up a piece of paper, give it to you. It takes 3 months.
You gotta be careful. Some of the people, so they don't know what a typewriter is.
Yeah, that's well, they still have them in the towns, right? But yeah, somehow, I don't know why, COs can be hard to get. So closing out a loan is generally closing out the building electric and plumbing. That closes it out. Next issue is contractor, right? So how do we find a contractor? So we're all good. We like this. We understand the whole concept, right? It is our strong desire as consultants that the borrower finds their own contractor. We are the hand that hands out the money. We don't want the perception in the industry to be that we are suggesting the hand in which the money is given, right? So find your own contractor, a financially competent contractor. And what I mean by financially competent is they need to have some working capital and then vendor relationships and subcontractor relationships and not have a trail of bankruptcy and suits and all that behind. That is a good financially competent quality contractor. If for some reason your borrower can't find a contractor, we keep a referral list. It's currently 950 strong. We will give a hold harmless agreement for the referral, never a recommendation, right? So the hold harmless holds us, the lender, and the realtors harmless from the referral. It's still up to the borrower to vet them, manage them, and it says so in the hold harmless agreement, right? So, but I always tell people, find your own contract. Go find, if you can't, then knock on our door, right? And our referral list is broken down by county and also by specialty, meaning that is it a smaller contractor that can handle an existing renovation of existing square footage, or is it a more substantial contractor who can do an annual level and expand? That's a more sophisticated contractor who can read plans, who has a builder's license on that, right? So again, right, the two pain points that we most commonly encounter, free feasibilities will solve the how much can we offer on this, and then if needed, a referral list of contractors. All right. So 4 easy steps to a fast closing, 45 to 60 days. Can be done in 30, it won't be done in 30. Well, it can be, but it has been, but it won't be. Right, so you generally tell people 45 to 60 days, and most, I've been told enough by enough realtors that most closings are 45 to 60 days. Right, that's an honest thing. And really, it's the same process, right? Pre-approve your borrower, right? Prior to offering, get the free feasibility for the initial estimate. Upon contractor acceptance, receive contractor referrals if needed. Right, again, if not needed, it'd be my preference. And then receive the bids and lender write-ups, order the appraisal. The appraisal is ordered based on 3 signatures on our document. Borrower, contractor, and our signatures. those people agree to the scope of work and the prices, it gets handed to the appraiser. The appraiser says, okay, I have a purchase contract for 100,000, I have a repair budget for 150. I need 3 comparables in the area as repaired for 150 or better. It's the appraiser is doing the same thing that I mentioned before, that formula, the buy plus the fix, right? That's it. And I always tell people, while completing all the construction portion of it, continue to submit to Caliber the income and the credit info, right? Real important. That way you're running parallel and you're not moving any time, right? And I promise you, right, 45 to 60, we do it regularly, right? So just a quick recap on Reno. Everybody wins. Realtors sell more houses by expanding their inventory, and borrowers get the house that they want and equity. And then realtors get referrals from satisfied borrowers. That's the barbecue conversation I was talking about before. Wow, that's a nice house. How did you do that? Right, that really happens all the time. They know, all them know. Right. So I'll, if okay by you, Heidi, I'll talk a little bit about home inspection. You okay with that? Right. So some time ago, we asked a realtor for our partners, right? What do they need from their home inspection? And the top thing that we got from them was to get their time back. What do I mean by that? Well, I have to go to the house 5 times. Once for the home inspection, once to collect the radon, once for the tank sweep, once for the chimney inspection, and then a 5th time because they couldn't get in, right? So what we did was we said, okay, how do we solve this for realtors? And what we do is we do 1 visit for all inspections. You get your time back. Right, so you give us 3 to 5 day lead time. We have relationships within our within the counties that we work in. Definitely Bergen County is one of them. You call us and we'll say to you, well, yeah, everyone attorney wants a home radon and termite. We think there was oil. Do you want to do a tank sweep? Right, maybe they should have a sewer main scan because the house has been renovated recently and contractors have a habit of flushing all the stuff down the sewer and it backs up the sewer main. It's a common thing. We will make sure that on the day that the home inspection is done, that the tank sweep and the sewer main scan are also done at the same time. Right, most of my guys carry access keys, right, the GE keys, so you don't have to go back to the radon. So that you get your time back. Right, and that we were told is probably the most important thing, right? You were out able to go and get listings of houses. You're not worried about getting the transaction closed and having to go visit the property. The second way that we give you your time back is through this, and this is the document that I handed out. Everyone has a copy of it, right? So what this document is a free cost to cure estimate for only the realtor. On every home inspection that we do, we provide this if requested to the realtor. It doesn't go to your buyer. I don't want to be involved in your transaction. But we found over time that the realtors are the ones who are negotiating the transaction, right? So what I'm doing is in the deficiencies that we find, we are giving you numbers that are market rate numbers, and those numbers on this report are backed by our FHA license. That's what we do for a living, right? We find deficiencies and we put numbers on it, right? So in your standard home inspection, you're going to get roof has exceeded its expected useful life, recommends securing an estimate from a contractor. Instead of chasing a contractor for an estimate, we'll say here, it's $15,000 to replace that roof. Lawyer comes back and says, no, it's only $8,000. Our licenses and our experience says that's $15,000. Right? You have now saved your time. You've gotten your time back by getting this report. And as I said, this does not go to the buyer, right? The idea is not to scare the buyer or involve myself in the transaction. It's to give you as the realtors the ability to say, oh, look at that. Okay, so I have the deficiencies and here are the numbers for it. Good. I'm gonna use this to negotiate the transaction if I have to. Gives you your time back. Instead of chasing dopey contractor who never returns a phone call, you now have the documentation in front of you backed by our license. Right? These numbers are what we do. This is really no different than a free feasibility, just on the opposite. All right. I think I'm kind of there, right? And this, the other thing, so this is how you also get your time back, right? I said earlier, by virtue of being in this room, you start receiving our upgradable property listings. So if you have borrowers who are open to doing this, right, and they're not finding what they're looking for, you're gonna start getting these probably one a day, I think is what we should do. Right, and I can't promise because they don't always come around, right? There's not a ton of inventory around, but if they are, coming, then you will start receiving these lists. And what we'll do is we'll make sure you have comps, right? We'll prove it to you. And then if you have an active purchaser, you call us and you get the free feasibility for it. We get the detail on the 92. Right, so real simple. I'll go to the end, right? And just a simple recap, right, for both programs, right? You get your time back for the home inspection referrals, right? And then it's one visit for all inspections and free cost of care estimate. And you can expand your inventory using the free feasibility. Right? So, any questions that anyone has? Anything that you want me to go over again? The last slide that I usually
I
do,
have questions.
common questions, right? So that how much the house needs that we talked about, the free feasibility, the contractor referrals, we talked about our contractor referral program. Home inspection is usually an interesting one, right? So we are also, of course, all licensed home inspectors when we do renovation consulting, right? But we tend not to sell both at the same time because we don't think it's ethical. And here's the reason why. When we do renovation consulting, we're inspecting the house as if we would a home inspection. However, instead of writing a home inspection report, we're writing a cost of cure report. So the difference is that roof that needs replacing, instead of saying, go get an estimate from a qualified contractor, we'll give you the cost of cure estimate. What we're doing is we're saying here, $15,000. I always tell people, I'm not dissuading you from getting a home inspection. Consult with your attorney if you want one. If we wind up doing both, we get a discount of $200 on the home inspection. Out of the 600 that we do, I do a handful of home inspections. It's not one visit, same visit, right? We generally give, don't do, we talk our way out of it. My phone rings more when I talk my way out of it. Appraisal, we talked about appraisal. Anyone have questions on that, right? It's all based on future appraised value. You as the realtor know better than anyone that house is worth fixed up. And then zoning is the last one, right? So here I'll go back to the very first. I don't know. I don't think I'm working anymore. I run out of juice.
No, you know what, I think
Can you
touch
go up?
something.
Oh, that's all right.
Uh-oh,
I just go up
Here
to
we go.
go up
Okay,
to the
hold on.
very first one. That's all right. Don't worry about it. Yeah, this one is fine, right? So when you have added square footage, you have to be careful that you don't trigger what's called zoning variance, right? You want to be able to build as of right, as of what the current zoning is, right? Generally, when you're adding second levels like this, you don't run into a zoning variance. The zoning variance comes into play more when you're adding the foundation, right? So on this one, you're going to want to be careful that no zoning variance. And we also refer architects if needed, right? So what will happen is this person, the buyer, will say, yeah, I like this house, I want to tear it down, I want to build that. The architect is going to say, yeah, given the current zoning permissions on this property, you can build that. If you do require a variance, that will hold up the process. You want to save it. So you want to build within the current permission. So that's the presentation. Anyone have questions? And I have one handout that I give to everyone, and I'm hoping that you find it useful and that you happily use it, right? It's repair estimates on your standard 3 to 4 bedroom house. Yeah. So these are standard repair estimates for a 3 to 4 bedroom suburban house built with great finishes, right? Older and larger or architecturally significant houses will cost more, right? And you can always ask for feasibility, but a lot of realtors I've found use these, they keep them in their car, right? Because you're walking the house with a prospective buyer and they say, well, I'm okay with this, but I want new flooring, or I want a new kitchen, or, and, you know, you have the ability to go, hold on, I have an answer for you. Right, and that's the use, right? So, you know, I'm hoping that you find it useful. Right, so before I finish and wrap up, any final questions or anything? else?
Yeah, I have
Cover
questions
everything
for
online?
the Zoom.
I saw you
You know,
scrolling through
yes,
some
I
stuff.
was trying to see, but I think we did. I don't see any more questions since that.
Yeah, I have questions. Are
Okay.
you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, very good. Well, I thank you all for having me. I appreciate it. It was
Thank
fun.
you
Oh
for
my
listening.
God.
Yeah, I hope you find everything useful, right? Including Reno.
Yeah.
Can you do that one more time? I recorded and show my wife tonight.
Okay.